Now, as somebody who teaches high school students, what other things do you think high school students aren't? Like, what do you wish fathers and mothers knew that their kids maybe aren't telling them?
Yeah, no, good question. I've done a series of talks at some local churches in Atlanta. I get into this. I was asked to give a talk at I don't know if it was That Man Is You thing or what, but it was something similar to that. Right. And so I kind of asked, what's the demographic? I normally talk to teenagers and young adult men, right? Mm-hmm. And so this was all dads, 40s, 50s, 60s, right? Granddads. And I was sort of looking at myself and my state in life and like, well, what do I have to offer these guys? I can't give you child rearing tips. My oldest is 12, right? I haven't gone through a lot of the frustrations and everything. And so I thought about it, I prayed about it. And what I did is I decided I was going to sort of make a list of things that I've heard from 15 years of having just about daily conversations with young men, mostly young men, young women too. It's harder to have those kinds of relationships with a teenage girl as a man, right? I'm not going to go have a closed door meeting with a girl about a serious problem that she's having. But I sort of tried to distill those down and give a talk on it. And I don't remember all of the list, but the big one, and this is going to sound super cliche, but it's cliche because it's true and we talk about it all the time, is the phone thing. I get that all the time from kids. And I mean kids, like 17, 18-year-old kids, and then guys in college, like some version of, more generally, why the heck did my parents give me this phone when I was in middle school or whatever. And now I'm constantly staring at it and whatever. But it's usually more pointedly, why would my dad allow me to do this? Now I've had a porn addiction for 10 years. And it's really heartbreaking to have. I've had multiple 20-somethings who right now I've got control of their phones. I've got the parental apps on my phone so that they can't, as men, right? They can't access almost always porn. I mean, there's usually some social media. I spend too much time on it. I'm looking at Reddit all the time or whatever. But so some random guy who gave a talk at your kid's college is now trying to help them in this thing that they fell into because it was a lot easier for you guys to have a conversation at a restaurant or whatever if your kid had a iPhone to distract them. That's a big one. It's a really, really big one. For girls, a big one is my dad... I can't think of it sort of exactly how it's been worded, but it's usually what it comes down to is he stopped being like physically affectionate with me and stopped treating me like a little princess and became much more standoffish and almost like afraid of me after I went through puberty. That's normally what it is, which is awful. Yeah, it's awful, right? And I don't know what that is. Once again, I'm not in that stage of parenting, but these girls who have this desire for affection and attention and love, like we all do, right? Yeah. And from a man, and it's not inherently a sexual or romantic thing. It's just, no, I want to be like affirmed and loved, right? And so they go filling that gap in all the wrong places with all the wrong guys who are going to give them that attention and affection, right? But there's going to be a sexual element to it or whatever. And then
I guess I can see why. I'm trying to get into the head of a man who becomes distant as his child goes through puberty. Yeah, maybe it's something where the father's wrestling with the daughter and hanging out, and then all of a sudden, he doesn't want to accidentally touch her breasts or something like that. And I can understand that awkwardness, but it's important that men realize that women say things like that. Like, no, I want my dad. He's my dad. Yes. He needs to continually be affectionate with me.
I think pretty much the best thing you can do as someone who has not lived through this for your daughters, if you are a man, is to obnoxiously dote on them on a regular basis, right? Like they're sitting down and they can give you the dad stop and the sit down and the hug and the even if they're like dad right, and you are beautiful and you are good, and this is not infantilizing because I think there's a version of this for the guys too, but at the end of the day I do believe all women from 14 to 94 are ultimately that 7-year-old girl they once were in a princess dress, right? They want to be loved and they want affection and they just want to be told they're beautiful and good. And that's got to come. It's most important that comes from dad.
I think there's a sense in which fathers have to be really careful with how they criticize their daughters.
Sure.
Like the way we talk to our sons, stop that. It's annoying. It's weird. Don't do that. I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't talk that way to my daughters and I shouldn't talk that way to my daughters. Right. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because maybe somehow I think that there's a sort of social pressure on girls. See, even that I think is probably false. It's not like boys don't have social pressure, but I want to be my daughter's biggest advocate.
Right.
Like if they're doing something annoying, whatever that thing is what everyone should now do because it's the coolest thing ever. That's the kind of thing I want to take with my daughters, but for some reason I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, that's not necessarily true though, I suppose. I'm trying to think.
I think I'm just kind of chewing on this right now. I haven't thought this all the way through, but I think, in a rightly ordered household, right? Mom, she nurtures, and mom's not the big time disciplinarian and all of these things. I think that's pretty typical. I think for boys especially, it's, oh my gosh, Dad, I'm kind of scared. I'm kind of scared of Dad, even when I'm 16 years old, right? But I've got that respect with Dad, and I can go and have these deeper conversations. Mom is the one who I can go and brag about I just got this. I still call my mom on a regular basis, right? I talk to my mom probably every other day, right? And I if I get a raise at work or I do something really good and get some accolades, and I know I can't go pronounce this from I need to be humble about this, but I can call my mom and I can just chit chat with her, and she'll say, "Oh, that's great. Of course you did great. Oh my gosh," right? And I feel like dads sort of play that role with their daughters in a way. But I don't know if that's true. That's just me sort of spitballing.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, do us a favor, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the video, like, and subscribe.